Good morning, good morning. Welcome to today's edition of our Child Protection Week webinars from Dads in the Picture. My name is not Daddy Koketso as expected. I definitely do not look like him. I'm much more charming, much more handsome. Unfortunately, Daddy Koketso had some pressing matters to attend to. However, I've got the honor and the privilege of hosting Danie van Loggerenberg. You will see that he is much bigger than me, but I can get to bully him online, but not anywhere else, because as soon as I get in front of him, it's going to be something else. So let's welcome Danie. How are you, Daddy?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity and the privilege to chat during Child Protection Week about this specific topic.
Yeah. So I see you're quite big. Is that for a particular reason?
Well, there's a few, to be honest. Number one, growing up as a small boy, I think there's a few things that you want to be in life. One of them is big and strong.
Okay.
And so I played rugby as well, and I think one of the things was to train for the rugby. But while I'm playing rugby, training wise, I also realized, but I've been blessed with a big body, so I could do other things with it as well. So I've done world record tire flips. I've pulled vehicles. Pulled a vehicle yesterday, a 3-ton vehicle. Nearly died. Luckily didn't. I love doing. By having this body and still training 3-4 times a week, and although the body sometimes tells me it's not as young as I think it is, it is important to use the body to my advantage. Some people have other skills. I've realized that I'm not the cleverest guy around, so maybe the big body should be the one helping. But yeah, so I played rugby, and I must be honest, my kids love the fact that I'm 120 kilos, and it's not all fat. I promise you that. And my kids love it. And I've driven in the car, and then my boy will all of a sudden just look at me and he'll touch my arm. And you know what? That's the best feeling in the world. That beats every other feeling in this world by a country mile. Your boy looking up to you, saying, "Daddy, you're big and strong." And that's.
Do they ever want you to put your arms up like this and then they hang on them as you bring them up?
Often. They love us when we at Granddad. I don't have a swimming pool, but he's got a swimming pool. They love it when I throw them in the air, and things like that. So they like the benefits of having a strong dad, and hopefully, it also encourages them to have healthy lifestyles. So sometimes when I train, because I've got a gym in my garage, they train with me. They've got small weights, and they train with me because training is such an honest thing. You don't go and lie on a bench and you bench 120 kilos. No, you start with a 40 or 50, and you work your way up. So it's such an honest thing. You can BS your way through a lot of things in life, not with weights ever.
Yeah. So you said you were pulling a vehicle yesterday. What was that for?
Okay, so we got asked to pull a vehicle to raise awareness about gender-based violence, including obviously child protection. So we like doing things that has symbolic value, and to paint a picture so that people ask, what's the picture about, so we can explain it. And one of the reasons we pull a vehicle, we do big tire flips and so forth, is because that's exactly how we see the plight of children. It's before, everybody's looking at you. You're pulling this vehicle. People are looking at you. You're struggling. You're red in the face. Well, I think I was turning all kinds of funny colors in my face. And they take out their phones and they take videos and photos of you. And then as soon as you tell them, listen, I'm tired, I can't do this anymore, they just tell you, go Danie. And that's not what you want to hear. And that's exactly what happens to a child. That little girl that got bullied in Limpopo, which is only, I mean, one of hundreds and hundreds of bullying cases. What's the first thing her friends, supposed friends, and her fellow learners did is they took out their phones and they took videos and photos of her being bullied, about her being humiliated. And that's exactly what happens with you when you do strongman things like this to raise awareness. As people don't realize it, but by walking past you and with you, they do exactly that. And it's amazing. I mean, we were in Krugersdorp. We launched our 24th Child Protection Hotline at the same time for Krugersdorp. But you've got all these people. The police are there. The Metro Police was there. The fire department was there. Everybody was there. But they're also there when a child's getting abused. And sometimes you get the feedback that this kid just wanted help and nobody wanted to help. So that's what we symbolize. So about 100 meters from the end, I invite everybody else to come and help me pull. And you guess what? The vehicle pulls a lot. That's why we did 1.1 kilometer. So the last 100 meters, they all help you pull. And it's amazing how much easier 3 tons pull when we 5 or 6 versus only me pulling.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I like the symbolism around it. Just to digress a bit from today's topic, I think it's also similar to the concept of a dad struggling and going through issues, and he's crying out, and people are saying, "Come on, man, just man up, be a man about it. Tigers don't cry." And yet here you are pulling this 3-ton and sometimes even more. But it's just that when you are doing that, nobody sees what you're pulling. It's all abstract. It's all invisible. But you are feeling it. Those around you are expecting you to pull that weight by yourself. But nobody, and what's said is that nobody has given you, that training prior to pulling. Nobody has equipped you for what you are about to pull.
100%. I think what's important. So you know me. I come out of alienation, and it's exactly that. So yes, now it's a plight of kids and so forth, the symbolism, but it comes from that as well. The reason I started doing this was because I was alienated, and nobody wanted to bloody listen. And the people now passing you in their cars, you know what's the first thing they say? Oh, it's not that heavy. I can do it myself. And then the guy's 1.9 meters, 75 kilos. And because it's easy to say that. It's easy to say, no, man, you should have done this. And as an alienated father, at how many brides that I said, no, you should do this and you must do that. No, unfortunately not. It's not that. Yes, we believe there's a way to beat alienation. And we believe we've done a lot to try and achieve that, but at the same time, 100%, like you said, it's everybody's got something to say, but you do not understand even 10% of it if you haven't gone through it. To mourn a living child is the worst feeling in the world. To have a child that is reaching out for you, that's being damaged by the day, because you now, because through your process, realized. I realized that my back and knees are going to hurt earlier because I'm doing this. And it's the same with alienation. You know your child is, as a teenager, going to show the signs of alienation when they were a toddler. And people forget that, because now all of a sudden a child's difficult. Oh no, sorry, now I speak like a woman. It's not only women that alienate. But my child, my child is displaying symptoms. My child needs to get to a psychologist. No, you know what? You should not have created in your child's mind and heart gaps, because I had a discussion with single moms a while ago, and I said to all of them, that peace in your heart that is created for a dad's love, which you've taken away from your child, doesn't get filled by you. You can't fill it. You're not the dad. Stepdad can't fill it. He's not the dad. Now that's why we can have the stats that saying an alienated daughter becomes likely to become pregnant at 16 and younger is over 50-60%. Why can we say that? Because it's a normal reaction to want to have that love that can only be given by a dad figure. And I say dad figure, sometimes babies grow up with a stepdad, and that's different. But it's normally only the biological dad. And I said to the moms, and moms don't normally like me a lot, because I'm very outspoken, and they don't like that at all. But I mean, I'm preaching to the choir. But so I said to them, you know what? I will keep quiet, and I talk a lot. I'll keep quiet for 5 minutes for every second of being a man experience you ladies have between you. And they did not enjoy that, because none of them has a second of being a man experience. None of them understand hormones as we do. They don't experience them the same. So now but my boy's perfect. Your boy's not perfect. He's looking at girls. And because he's doesn't have a dad to chat, he's not going to tell mom, you know what, I like boobs. Have you ever heard that? I've never heard that. That would be weird. But I've heard boys, dad, you know what, ish. And a dad it's just a different conversation. But now you don't have. Now where does a boy see boobs? On the internet. That's a very dangerous place to send the child to. It's the internet. So alienation is so much bigger. And alienation is bullying. You're bullying your own child. You're bullying your ex as well. But you know what? We're grown-ups. So we learn to put that away, and we put it away, and we cry about it on certain days, and certain things hit us, certain songs, certain dresses, if you've got girls, a rugby ball, a soccer ball takes you back. It hurts us, but we are able to deal with it. That child can't deal with it, and they go and search and search and search. And that's why now a boy doesn't want to play with other 11-year-old boys. He wants to play with the 16-year-old boy, the one with authority, not because he likes to play with older boys, but because he's seeking that discipline authority of I'm in charge. Because where is he going to learn to be a man? He can't learn it from mom. It's impossible. Just as me and you won't be able to teach our kids about mom, because we're not moms. We can't fill that gap. I can be the best. I am a single father. My baby is 2 years old. I've got primary care. I'm the only parent this child has. Mom pitches up 4 hours a week sometimes to see him. And even that to her is trouble. Her maintenance is 600 Rand a month, 500 Rand a month, which she doesn't pay. Why did I say 500? Because the family advocate didn't want to accept a zero. So I am a single dad. And it's bloody hard to be a single dad. But I can never be a mom. And because I know that he's got an amazing godmother who's not my wife or my girlfriend, which is a very good friend of mine's wife. But I know that this child sometimes needs to be picked up, head on chest, and just be. Yeah. That's not my strong point. Not because I don't want to offer that, but it's not my strong point. So what do? I go and give my child the best I can within what we've got, and people miss that. So they bully their ex, but indirectly they screw up their child. And how on earth and why on earth would you purposefully hurt your own child? That just sounds stupid.
Now we're going down a different path. So I'd like to bring us back. I can see that this is a very passionate topic for you, but in addressing our topic for this morning, where I want to start is. And thankfully that I've got you, and I can ask you this. A lot of the videos or a lot of the bullying that we've seen or that I've seen on social media is mostly either Black children or colored and so on. Does it happen in the white community? Because I want us to kind of put that out of the way first so that it doesn't become a Black and white issue. Does it really happen in the white community as much as it does in the Black community?
Yes, it does. It happens. Well, I think it happens on equal terms, to be honest. I think going to schools and working at schools for the last 11 years, I've got quite insight in how things happen at schools. So in your Afrikaans schools or your more predominantly white schools, a lot of things happen in-house. So whatever does happen there does not get out because the kids don't have cell phones with them. They don't allow them to have cell phones at break time, busy WhatsApping and chatting and taking videos of stuff. So if they have a cell phone, it will be in the bag. So that's number one. So the first thing today is that the reason we see the black children doing that is because their children have phones with them. So that we are able to see the videos. I have enough videos of white children doing practically the same, but my job is not to sensationalize and put it on social media. My job is to get those kids sorted out, which is exactly the same when I get two black children fighting. I've got a lot of them as well, which never, ever air. We had one in the rural KZN on your way out at Vryheid side, where the one girl was two girls. The one girl ripped the other girl's underpants to such an extent that she cut her in her private parts and it was bleeding all over. So she pulled it up and pulled it out until she got it off. I mean, and again, from the videos, you could see at least 10 kids taking videos from the other side. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's shocking. It is shocking that somebody's actually video recording nonsense like that instead of trying to stop it. And if you are not able to stop it, then go and get somebody that is able to stop it, because your teachers, by law, are obliged to report child abuse. So to answer your question, it happens a lot in the white schools. It's not just the whites or black. It is a child issue. The white schools just keep everything inside. So even your white school principals, for example, will say, if there's a problem, speak to me, and they'll make an appointment same day with the parents to sort this out and get it sorted. So it's not like they're leaving it, but they try and sort it out ASAP. I'm not saying the black schools not, but because before even a poor black principal has time to sort it out, it's already been on Facebook and social media, which is also unfair. So but at the same time, I don't want to go to the extreme to say take away all their cell phones, but because of the cell phones, we now have evidence, which is also important. But no, it happens. I mean, my kids attend a white school, Afrikaans school, and now it happens, and it's sad. It's sad, and we in the white schools, I talk about the soccer moms. I'm not sure if all the black schools have them as well, but those are those kids whose moms and dads are more at school than they're at their jobs. I always wonder what jobs they do, because they drive fancy cars. They're always at the school. They're always buying stuff for the school. And guess what their kids become? They become monsters. Yeah, they play first team rugby, cricket, soccer, netball, hockey, and whatever's ever a prefect position they could have gets bought for them. But at the same time, they become monsters because the principals, and that's the sad part about the SGBs. So they also sit in the SGB. So now your principal is only a member of the SGB. So now these soccer moms, this happened. No, my child does not do that. I had that once where mom let me know that her child would never. Yeah, no, you've got a perfect child. I'm a very strict dad, and my boy sometimes is naughty. It doesn't make me a bad parent. He's a child. I was a naughty child, I'm sure of it. I'm still naughty, and I'm nearly 40. So, I mean, it's ridiculous the way these things go. But no, so to answer your question was about white schools. Yes, bullying happens all over. The main reason you don't see the white bullying as much is because we're stricter. I mean, I've worked at schools long enough to tell you that the white schools are very strict. Discipline is at another level. Some of my boys' best friends are black boys that did not speak Afrikaans 4 or 5 years ago, but they speak Afrikaans now because their moms will tell you, we wanted the discipline, and we wanted that. So people don't see that, but and don't think my boy knows that his friend is black. He doesn't. We once played rugby, and he said, "Dad, why do those boys tell us that he's black? He's not. We know his mom is black, but he's not, because they don't see color." They haven't picked that up yet. We, unfortunately, as stupid parents, at some stage, to learn them about black and white and that nonsense. Happens at white schools because we're so strict at the white schools, not we, the principals and the teachers and so forth, and because they don't allow the cell phones out. You don't see it.
Okay. I'm glad that part is out of the way, because then we don't want to go into this conversation just having that seemingly narrative going on that it's only in the Black community or in the Black schools. So maybe then let's backtrack a little bit. Oftentimes, when a child starts bullying, it's a reflection on where they come from. In your experience and in what you've seen, what are the scenarios, or what are the characteristics of a child who comes from from a family? What are the characteristics of a bully or a child who's a bully and their families?
Okay, so what we see, this is actually such a good but also a difficult question, because we find that, yes, we also make the assumption that once a child bullies, that he is a product of being bullied at home. But that's not always the case. And I'm gonna sketch the following scenario. So there's a child being bullied at home, being beaten, sees mom being beaten, sees dad being beaten, because that happens too. And then this child is looking for an out. So he now bullies at school. But the child that he bullies at school is not necessarily bullied at home, but he now becomes a bully at, for example, your restaurant where there's a play area. Okay. So it might that the original bully started at home for whatever reason. It could also be that your bully starts with he's not happy at home. Things are, mom and dad are working 24/7. So he's now doing stupid stuff at school to get attention, because the only time you'll have interaction with mom or dad would be when they're in the principal's office with him or her. So there's so many other things that happen. So it's much bigger. So yes, there might be a child that sees certain things happening at home, and then he gets to a school setup and he reflects exactly what happens at home in that scenario.
Okay.
Now, that child, because he's now bullying another child, that next child is now a bully in other circumstances. Probably not at school, because at school he's intimidated. I always teach my kids, and I don't want to mention restaurant names, but I always teach my kids, if you at this certain restaurant and you want to play in the play area, you see that boy that's obviously 4 years older than he should be to play in your area with the glasses, do not go close to him, because he is most probably standing there to intimidate a small child. And it's not always the circumstances, but it's happened so many times that my kids will come call me and they say, Dad, this is happening. And then I'll join them, but I'll be a few meters behind. And I remember one day specifically, they went, after my boy and girl, they're now 11 and 9. So they went onto a trampoline, that this child will go from his trampoline to jump on their trampoline to make them fall down. And I saw it with my own eyes. And I asked him, where's your dad? Because I'd love to speak to your dad. And upon speaking to the dad, and luckily for then again, I'm a big guy, so it's not like the dad's going to rush out there and try and bully me. The dad explained to me that he's being bullied at school, which unfortunately fits the narrative that, yes, it needs one bully to be bullied at home. He bullies 6 kids at school, and none of them have that thing going at home. But they now bully on the outside, at sporting events, at a restaurant, nephews and cousins. And now the nephew and cousin is being bullied. So now the family is coming from Cape Town. We have a big Easter braai outside of COVID, obviously. And now the nephew and cousin take that bullying back there. And now it started with one child at home, and there's 20 other kids that are now bullies, and all their homes have none of that happening at home. So that's important. Yeah. So it's unfortunately, out of 1 out of 21 does show you that picture is unfortunately always being painted, but it's not 100% the truth always.
Wow, yeah, that's a sobering analysis. So we're already seeing that oftentimes the one who is bullied also tends to bully others.
100%.
As a way of a learned behavior, especially when they get away with it.
Well, I think especially with boys, and I mean, I can speak from my own experience, and I'm comfortable doing that. So as a man, we don't like to be intimidated and bullied.
Yeah.
And as soon as you feel that, the first chance you get is without even thinking about it, you just want to also feel powerful. Because none of us want to feel like a rug that's being stepped on permanently.
Yeah.
And now you get this, so you meet this wonderful girl, and now you're bullying her and you're intimidating her, but and that's wrong, but your initial idea was never to intimidate or bully her. It was just to say, this is now, I can be in charge here. Because you've never dealt with it, because you've never thought of it that way. Because I always say, people ask me how many men contact our hotlines to get assistance for kids. Well, 3 to 6%. We as men don't even stop to ask for directions. We definitely do not ask for help for anything. So now, instead of me coming to you as a friend and say, listen, this is happening in my work setup, I need to deal with this, because I'm taking my work setup bullying home, and I've realized now I'm taking it out on my wife and kids. But we don't do that. And because we don't do that, your knowledge and wisdom does not get installed on me. And I just replicate or whatever the proper English word would be, that on the next step. And that would be, for example, at home, in a home environment. So what's important to always remember is the reason we need to report any form of child abuse is because that one child that we do not help becomes 40, 50 other kids, because it does get replicated. And that's the problem we sit with. We don't even get the first report right, because that child now bullies one bullies one. Now there's two new bullies. Two bullies, they become 4 new bullies. And it looks like a pyramid scheme, and that's the way it grows, and it grows quickly. When I'm at schools, I always ask the kids one big question. I say, I'm 120 kilos. Individually, nobody here can do anything if I want to bully you one-on-one. But can I bully all of you? And the answer is no. Why is the answer no? And then they always say, because you're on your own. 100%.
No,
so if we sort out the one bully in class, if there's 33 or 35 kids in the class, the way the one bully becomes powerful is when you say something, 25 other kids laugh, and that makes him powerful. If you've got 34 kids turning around telling that one bully, stop, we're not taking your nonsense, you keep quiet, what's he going to do? I'm big and strong, but I'm not going to fight 34, 35 other people. It's impossible. And that's the way you stop it. As you say, we won't take this nonsense. You sit down, you keep quiet. But now the bully says something, 2 kids laugh. Bully trips you, 4 kids laugh. Now all of a sudden, we've actually got 25 bullies in the class against 10, and then the 10 lose.
So in that, could we then say that those who usually cheer and those who also take the videos are also complicit in the bullying?
They're enablers, 100%. It's again, and again, where you've got a lot of knowledge in alienation. It's mom alienates dad, dad alienates mom, but not on their own. They use a social worker, they use a psychologist, and they use other people. And those people afterwards say, oh, I did nothing wrong. No, you enabled, 100%. So you taking a video, you feeding that monster, and monster in inverted commas, that bully, you feeding the monster, and when you're feeding the monster, it makes you an enabler, and it makes you guilty as well. So you not stepping in. I mean, those 2 girls in Limpopo were 14. I do not tell me there wasn't a matric boy or a grade 11 boy or a grade 10 boy or even a grade 8 boy who was not prepared to say, hey, I'm a man, I will step in, I will stop this, you will not do this at my school. Because where's that pride gone? I mean, when I went to school, my badge was everything. You would not. I was privileged. I was head boy, and the teachers used to laugh. They say when they passed me on the steps or on the corridors, they used to check if they were neat and tidy. If I found you with my school uniform outside of school with a shirt not tucked in, I would reprimand you, because that is your Your pride is in that badge. So if you want to be a man, you want to be a boy, you stand up and you tell those two girls to stop hitting each other. And if you're too scared to do that, you go and find a teacher and you tell them, listen, you must come and stop this. And that's why we visit schools. We do that education. You're not a man if you're taking a video of two girls hitting each other, even two boys. But I mean, in that instance, two girls hitting each other, where are the boys? Why are the boys not stepping in? Because I think you are all cowards. Why are you not stepping in? We cannot, not in a country where we can say it's not my problem, because it is your problem. Because now everything at your school is fair. That girl, I always teach the kids at school, once you've bullied a child on the wrong afternoon and they go home and they commit suicide, what's left of your life? Nothing is left of your life, because there will not be a morning that you wake up without thinking of, I have inadvertently been part of a, inverted commas, murder. Because that's what it was. Yes, she committed suicide, but she was left out to dry by everybody else, and that is unfortunate.
Sure. I think these are things that we all take for granted, because now I'm even thinking that girl who bullied a child and their child committed suicide. I'm not even going to mention a name, because if we mention a name, we're only confining it to that one.
100%.
But there are so many others where there was no video evidence, where there was no parent who made it loud enough, who approached the school, who just simply said, my child committed suicide. And for some, they probably felt guilty as parents that it was their fault. So how do parents of bullied children support them? What is even the first thing that they need to do?
Okay, so number one, what's very important is communication. So you need to communicate with your child. You know your child better than anyone. So your child being quiet this afternoon after school is probably, could be one of many things. If she's quiet after school 3 days in a row, it's not one of many things anymore. Something is wrong. Ask them what's wrong. And you need to build that relationship so that they trust you enough to tell you. Because I've got too many parents that tell me, yeah, but they didn't want to tell me. But that's your fault as a parent. You did not create that open dialogue. So my children can tell me anything. And once my little girl came and she told me something, and I'm very happily divorced, and her mom said, but she can't always tell stories. I said, stop. I'm teaching them to always tell stories, because I'd rather listen to 99 stories and they were all hogwash, and that one story she tells me, I can help her, than telling her to not tell stories and now she keeps everything for herself. That's how grooming and rape happens of children, because we don't have that open dialogue. So you as a parent, speak to your children, find out who their best friends are, find out what's happening at school. You have no idea how many kids at school sit alone at break time because they don't have friends. Why don't they have friends? Are they the bad kids? No. Because they will probably not just give into the narrative of, we need to now skinner and gossip about that person, that person, that person. So speak to them, find out what's going on, so that if something happens, Dad, Mom, you know what, this happened. I said it yesterday when we did our briefing. I was at a school in Midrand once. I'm not going to mention the school name. And I always tell the kids, once I'm done, come and tell me what's wrong. And I'll listen. And then I've got cues. I can tell you sometimes I sit there for 3 hours. And I don't mind. I love working with kids. And this one little boy was a black boy. He was grade 1, small. I mean, he was tiny. And he came and he said, Sir, my friend kicked me in the class yesterday. And that was his entire world. His entire world came crashing down because his friend kicked him. And it wasn't, he kicked him in the back. They sit next to each other in the class and he kicked him. I'm assuming, listening to what he said, that he was talking while the teacher was talking and his friend kicked him under the chair like, keep quiet, we need to work. So it wasn't even a bullying incident. But to that child, he just wanted to share that. And you know what? I said to him, you know what? That's not good. But I hope you guys can play again at break time. He looked at me and he said, thank you, sir. And he got a smile back. That changed his world. I only listened to him for not even a minute. And that's what we need from parents. You as a parent are failing your kids if they don't speak to you. They're not failing you. Teenagers are weird. I don't know where they come from or why they're here, but they are weird creatures. So the best thing that you can do is to say, but I'm the parent. I know they're going through something. It's not like we were easy teenagers. So it's your job. I always say to the parents, if I had a dad once who said, but my 14-year-old, her 18-year-old boyfriend's expecting stuff from her. I'm going to kill him. I said, whoa. How long has your girl been dating him? 6 months. Why is your girl dating? No, she never told me. But that's on you.
Yeah.
That's on you. You should have that open relationship, Dad, Mom. I want to date a boy 4 years older than me. No, my darling, that's not going to be a clever move. And if you've got that trust relationship, she'll listen to you. It's all teenagers don't go against mom and dad's wishes. They go against mom and dad's wishes if mom and dad's absent and they need attention from their life choices. It's important. They want attention from their life choices. So it's getting back to that. The only time I see my mom and dad is in the principal's office. So what do I need to do? I need to get into the principal's office. How do I do that? I throw over my bag in the middle of the class. Go to the principal, and you'll see so many sketches. And that child is like, packs up the bag and turn around and smiles. Mom and dad's coming.
Yeah. And I think when you talk about that, it's that thing of saying, sometimes as parents, we say, I cannot come to school, or I cannot drop you off at school, or I cannot pick you up from school because I'm busy at work, right? Or I have this meeting, or there's this and that's happening at work. But the only time as a parent you are able to go to school, you're not even going for extramural activities, but it's the only time as a parent you go to your child's school is when you're being called by the principal because there's been an incident where your child was involved or where your child was doing something to another child. And I think that's something that we are so oblivious to as parents. Yeah.
100%. So just to give you an example, I train often, but I only train from 10 at night. So when I get my kids from school, I pick them up. Like this afternoon, I'll be picking them up at 1:30. I pick them up from school. And when I pick them up, they are my time until 8 at night. 8 at night, they go to bed. From 8 to 10, I quickly sort out whatever I need to do in the house, and then I come back and then I train. So I've always committed to myself that I'll never, ever let what I want to do be bigger than what I need to do for them. Yeah. And that's important. So you as a parent, you can finish that email being sent at 5 in the afternoon and the email being sent at 9 or 10 is still only being read tomorrow morning at 9. So why finish it now? Go to your child, speak to your child, listen what they have to say, because they're actually telling us a lot of things that we're not listening to. My little girl, like I said, I've done it to myself, but I've taught her to tell me everything. So she tells me everything. 2 days ago, my little boy, he dropped the cool drink. And then when he picked it up, it was carbonated soft drink. And he opened it up, the entire kitchen was under. But my kids know that if you do something on purpose, I'll be upset and I'll reprimand you. But if you make a mistake, we all make mistakes, including me. So I'm not even upset. But I mean, it didn't take her half a second. She was quicker than Usain Bolt. She was out, Dad, Boetie het hierdie gedoen, you know, and I got there and he's like, Dad, I just made a mistake. And they know that because they know me. And I was like, cool. And we cleaned it up together. He didn't do that on purpose. I mean, he just lost school drink. His heart's also sore. So we did that together, but you make a mistake. And I think that's important. Too many kids get punished for making mistakes. We all make mistakes. I can tell you, yesterday, I pulled a 3-ton vehicle. That was a mistake. My back's telling me that as I said, so we all make mistakes. And I think we need to get to that point where it's okay. Where we need to create an open dialogue where my child can come to me and say, Dad, I made a mistake. I was nasty to the child. I didn't sleep enough. I didn't do this. So I always take my kids back to the mirror. Is that person in the mirror happy with you today? The way you're acting now, what's wrong? What's wrong? What happened? And sometimes it's as basic as, you know what, somebody in my classroom who I used to play with turned around and said, you know what, they don't want to play with you anymore. And to them, that's big. To us, it's okay. We've got our set friends, and we all know that if you've got 2, 3, 4 very close friends, then you're a very lucky person. But you're not going to have 25 or 30. But remember, they don't know that. They've got 200 kids in their grade, and they want to be friends with all of them. And we need to remember that. I so often find that parents forget what it was like to be a child.
Yeah, that's very easy.
What it was like to hear no from mom and dad. So, you know, what it was like, Dad, just read us another story. No, I'm busy. Okay, how did you feel when you wanted a story read and mom or dad said no? Did you go to sleep immediately? No, you did not. What does that mean? That means I lie awake for another 2, 3 hours. That means I'm tired tomorrow morning. That puts me in a bad mood tomorrow. That means the learning at school tomorrow is less than what it should be. And all it took from you was 5 minutes to read a story.
Yeah, that's very powerful. You know, my son has this habit. I take him in, so we pick him up from school, and would ask him about his day, just throwing questions here and there. He would have like a small conversation, or sometimes he would expound on that conversation. But then you tuck him in at night, and then you say good night. And as you walk out the door, he then says, Daddy, I want to tell you something. And then I know, yeah, okay, what's up? You know? So imagine at that moment you're thinking the dude is going to sleep. But no, Daddy, I want to tell you something. Why? Okay, now I have to come back and I have to sit there and listen. But he's not really saying anything specific. But
he doesn't want to go to sleep.
And I've allowed him that. Don't joke.
It's wonderful because, you know, going back to our earlier conversation about white and black, my kids have, in Afrikaans I say, die groot dors. Dad,
okay.
I'm so thirsty now. I'm so thirsty. And then my kids throw this in. Dad, why would the guy from the Child Protection Hotline not allow his kids to drink when they go to bed because they're so thirsty? And I mean, I played the same tricks. I played the same cards. It's amazing because kids are kids. They don't want to go to sleep, and then tomorrow morning they don't want to wake up. But I mean, we're the same. I don't enjoy sleep most of the time, so I work until I really pass out. But tomorrow morning, I'd snooze my alarm. So isn't it amazing? But at least your child, you know, when he speaks to you, even if it's to stay awake, it at least means that he trusts you enough to share with you. And we forget that, because how many people do you trust that if something big happens, how many people do you WhatsApp immediately? I can promise you, I WhatsApp less than 5 people. So it's important that we as parents be one of those 5, because it will. Let's now forget about a child being bullied at a young age. Now your child becomes an adult and something happens. You still want them to come to you, because the one thing we can offer them is we can offer them knowledge and wisdom. And that knowledge and wisdom goes a far way. My boy and girl, they fight like cats and dogs, but it's amazing when the world wants to attack either or, they stand together. And I always teach them that because I'm divorced from their mom, they spend the most time together. I get them half the time, mom sees them half the time. But together, they're always together. So I always tell them, you're going to become best friends one day in any case. Because you are the only two that understand when you use the words dad or mom is nasty, for example. You're the only two that understand that term, because you're the only two that see both sides. You're the only two that can explain to each other what's happening in your world. Not me or mom sees them as often as they see each other. And that's critical. So when you've got your kids, remember that. You want them to come to you, because the problem we've got today is that we can't just think that a teacher is also a good place for them to go. Because how many teachers groom kids and then rape them? So you don't want that. The safest place for a child is with mom and dad, because we are the only ones. I always tell my ex as well. She's luckily she's calmed down now. We've been divorced for 8 years. But I always tell her the reason she's always going to be the mom. She's tried to replace me a few times, but you're always going to be mom in our house. So nobody else in this world is going to get as excited about our kids' achievements like me and you.
Yeah.
No woman I ever meet, even if she's the best mom in the world, and they want to make movies about how amazing a stepmom she is, no stepmom is ever going to get the same heart feeling when our kids, with my ex-wife, when our kids achieve. No one.
Yeah.
And don't, you can lie to yourself about it, but you're lying. Why would you do that? Nobody else gets as excited. So with bullying, it's communication. If you see bullying at home, you don't need to be a bully at school. Then tell someone. Tell someone. So yeah, I think it's
Daddy, you've shared a lot. But what I want us to do now is kind of talk around when a child has been exposed to bullying or they are a bully. What are the impacts of that bullying on the ones that they bully, as well as on them as they grow up? If you can just touch on that now going forward.
Okay, so the impact of bullying. So a few things. Number one, the child that bullies is going to grow up, and then they're going to replicate that behavior on the outside. But remember, in school, we've got a very strict age group thing going. So you are of a certain age, and you do certain things within that age group. And within your age group, you've got certain powers depending on your size, how much money your family has, etc. As soon as you hit the outside world, now you're a very, very small fish in a very big pond. And now all of a sudden, you can't just point the taxi or the Bentley or the Mercedes-Benz next to you at a robot because you didn't like the way they drive. Because they could pull out a gun and shoot you just there and then. So that's number one. So you get a false sense of who you are and what you are. That is not going to be replicated by the world. Because to be the main guy in jail is not something anyone should aspire to. The impact on the child that is bullied is massive, as obviously. So you'll find that those kids become very quiet and they become withdrawn. That impacts a number of things. It impacts their learning. It impacts their marks. Your marks are impacted. That now is the difference between you studying to become a doctor or not going to study at all. Because the university is only interested in a few of your extramural activities, but then your marks. If you do not have marks that are good enough, you cannot go and study. That now impacts the life you have. So bullying impacts, to be a short answer, everything. No child escapes bullying completely. Because if they do not speak about it, they don't deal with it. And now it impacts, do they go out on break? Now they don't. Like my boy doesn't eat at school. He plays too much, so he eats at home after school. Now this child, just to give you it's going to sound like a stupid example, but let's get child A now is bullied at school. Child A now does not go out to break because child A is too scared to go to break, so that because the bullies are waiting on the corridors. Now child A eats in the classroom because there's nothing else to do in the classroom but eat. Now child A becomes overweight because child A doesn't do sport. He or she doesn't run around. Now child A becomes fat. Now that brings in new bullies. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm 120 kilos. So you can call me all kinds of funny names. If you put my figures into that obesity test, I should have been dead for about 6 years. Now that child is on the outside world. Now, if it's a girl, guys, for example, do not look at her. She develops low self-esteem. She will somewhere find another person that was bullied at school and influence that person that at least try to overcome it, to have a proper normal life, to now turn down and not have a proper normal life, but also sit at home and do nothing, watching videos and series about weird things, and then unfortunately, one day wake up, pick up a gun, and blast 20 people in a shopping center because they feel that nobody ever listens to them. So I've now just taken one example, but that is the impact it could have. And that's massive. And that now influences that child in that manner. But it also influences brothers and sisters. It influences mom and dad. Because now mom and dad has a funeral to attend while they were dreaming about a wedding and grandkids. Now, because the child has gone, because the child has committed suicide, the number of parents after they've lost a child that continue to be married is very, very small. Because most couples cannot overcome the death of a child. Now there's divorce. That now directly impacts brothers and sisters. If that now gets to alienation, that's massive because it will be a massive psychological attack on the kids. So the impact of one child that's bullied at home influences now 40 other children, for example, but that influences 80 parents and plus minus 100 other siblings. And if we replicate that continuously, we've got a massive, massive problem.
Sure. Thank you for that. It's quite sobering that something so that we think is so small, that we think it's so, man, it was just that. Something that we are quick to take a phone and record or take pictures of has so many ripple effects in the lives of so many other people. So as we close this conversation, Daddy, what is the advice, or how do we get to prevent bullying from when we are parents? How do we, and maybe how do we identify that our child has become a bully and kind of stop that? How do we as a society take part in stopping the bullying and protecting our children?
Okay, so number one, I think is the first thing is if you were bullied as a child and you are now a grown up, accept it. So go and deal with it, because you're too old now to sweep it under a rug and say, it happened, but it's okay. So stop. I have problems because this happened to me, and that's okay. I can sort it out, and go and seek help for yourself, number one. Because you're a grown up, and it's okay to say, I'm struggling, and get help. So that's one. Once you've done that, that obviously eliminates bullying happening in your house setup, because you are bullying as a product of bullying. So that's one of the ways, as the parent now in this scenario. Number two, with the children, we need to establish that thing of, okay, I cannot tell mom and dad I'm being bullied because I am bullied at home. I need to communicate with my friends, because what do we find at schools? We find that terrible things are happening to kids, but they think it's happening in all the houses. So to them, it's normal. It's not normal. So we need to communicate. We need to open those dialogues and say it's okay to speak about that. So that's number two. So teachers at all the schools have a part in their curriculum that goes about bullies.
Yeah.
But we should not have it as a topic that they need to learn without understanding. When I work with my kids around exam time, I don't teach them. I teach them the things that it's about, but I teach them. Like my boy did spell words the other day, and I said to him, I explained the words to him. So now it's not just spell words to him. He understands what it means. And because he understands what it means, if they now need to do, in Afrikaans we say synonieme and anonieme, he can do that. Because now he understands what it is. So one of the words was aanval. So I explained it to him in rugby. If you're not attacking, you're defending.
Yeah.
So he's never ever not going to understand that again. So we need to open that dialogue. Kids need to speak. This is happening in my house. Well, this is that happening in my house. Teacher, okay, this is what's happening in my house. What's right and what's wrong? If there's something seriously wrong, there are organizations that you can call, including our own, but it doesn't need to be us, including our own, that you say, there's a problem here. Please come and speak.
Yeah.
That will allow us to speak to the kids in total. And then, okay, parents, can we please come and see you? Can we please come and have a discussion with you around this? Then you'll find a dad coming out and saying, you know what, I was beaten since the age of 4, and discipline is everything. And if a child doesn't listen, they must feel. Okay, times have changed. It is illegal. You're going to end up in jail. Can
Yeah.
we send you onto a parenting course to learn of alternative ways to discipline a child? So we need to open the conversations. I've done enough information hubs in shopping centers to tell you that people do not care about child protection and child abuse and all bullying until it's happened to their own kids. It's a very reactive system. You will not find that a random person who doesn't have kids stand up against child rape. But as soon as a brother or sister of his or her gets raped, then all of a sudden, nobody's helping, nobody's doing anything. No. We need to be proactive and stop being reactive to all of this. We needed all of these conversations way before a girl committed suicide. Because as you've rightfully said, she's not the only one. She's just the one that we had a video about. And we need to have these conversations in schools way before it gets to the scenario and the point of, I've seen it happen now, it's impacted my life, now I want to change it. It's not good enough.
Wow. Thank you, Daddy, for those insights. I hope and pray that anyone who gets to watch this video and listens to this conversation at a much later stage, they get to learn and realize that this conversation is not really about, what can I say, about condemning anyone. It's not really about bashing anyone. It's basically saying this is the awareness that we need to have. These conversations need to happen beyond Child Protection Week, beyond this month. They also need to translate into actions. And I've grown not to be an advocate of government legislating anything, because any change that needs to happen in society needs to first happen in the home. You are actively teaching your children in the home, and that's where they will get their first education. By the time they go to school, they learn the academics, but they cannot learn the values that they need in the home. So we need to teach our children to respect other people, irrespective of their age, social standing, or wherever they are. Because in starting to do that, that's when they will get to understand that this is another fellow human being. I cannot treat them any other way except with respect. I thank you really for just being so open, and sharing all the insights that you've shared. And I really hope and pray that your work gets to have a positive impact, and it gets to grow, and that we continue working together.
Thank you, Daddy. I just want to say one last thing, if you don't mind.
Yes.
What everybody needs to remember is we've got an amazing Children's Act. It reads lovely, but just remember, they needed to create an act that caters for the child in an informal settlement that shares a one-bedroom carbon box house with 6 other siblings and a mom and a dad. That same act covers not only that child and children, but also the child that lives in Sandton that has a weekly allowance of 5,000 Rand. And that is why you don't want your kids to end up through that system, because that system was built to cover everyone, and that is really impossible.
Thank you, Daddy. Have a lovely, lovely day, and enjoy the rest of your week. Don't pull any cars, or don't even go and try and attempt anything bigger than that 3-ton bakkie. because you already know the experience.
Thank you, Daddy. Thank you for the opportunity and the work that you guys for dads is amazing, and I applaud that.
Thank you. Have a lovely day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. And
Bye.
thank you for tuning in. Good after. Oh, it's still morning. So I'll just say goodbye and take care. Goodbye.